let me read out a question to you. Are there many interpretations of Sunyata or just one? Sunyata is a Sanskrit word. You know what Sanskrit is, right? It's a classical Indian language at the time of the Buddha. At the time of the Buddha, there were so many dialects, maybe more than 100 dialects. And usually there are two languages spoken at the time of the Buddha. One is Pali, the other is Sanskrit. Pali belongs to the common populace, the common mass of people. And Sanskrit belongs more or less a higher level to the royal family and all the priests and monks and all that. And Sunyata is a Sanskrit word. If you look into the dictionary, you can, sometimes if you want to find a word of Sanskrit, you can always get into the dictionary, put in the word Sunyata, and it would come up with pop out some meaning. The meaning is, usually it is like this: devoid of inherent existence. Something that does not have its genuine, real existence. In the Chinese language, Hong, Kong, 什么是空? It's easier to understand Sunyata if you go through some experiences in life. For example, if you are just a teenager who hasn't really encountered too much hardship, you probably don't believe in Sunyata because you grew up in a rosy garden. And many, many years ago, right in there was a youngster asking questions, and we were talking about Sunyata, and one of the meaning of Sunyata is because of Sunyata, we suffer. We have a lot of sufferings. And the young lady there, she didn't agree. She said, we don't have any suffering. How come you are pessimistic? How come the Buddha always say that we have suffering? Because Sunyata, suffering is only one aspect of the explanation of Sunyata. So, in other words, if you go by just the language, it's very difficult to understand Sunyata. So you really have to go through life. And that young lady was, only about 18. Her first year at university, she was very intelligent. Otherwise, she wouldn't have got into UPC at the age of 18. So she must have under a lot of nurturing by her parents, which I found out to be true later. And she said, I don't agree with the Buddha that there are sufferings in this world. I feel happy. And then I said, at that time, I was so involved with other explanations that I couldn't give her the details of how sufferings are, what are sufferings. For example, we have sufferings like aging is suffering, sickness is suffering, death is suffering, departure from beloved ones, when your beloved one dies is suffering, catastrophe, earthquake, wars, internal strifes, genocide, homicide. I didn't want to go into the detail because of other explanations to do. And then she got up, she left. She didn't agree because she didn't believe in suffering. She was too young. And later I found out from other friends that were by her side that she came from a country that her father was so rich and she was driving a Ferrari in the parking lot, and she was living in a Shaughnessy house all by herself. The parents were back in the country making money, and you know what I mean? The country that's, making all the money and put the child in here so that they go back to the country to make money. And she said, she always expressed that I feel happy. And then we say, sometimes you were sick. Yes, I was sick sometimes. But when I'm sick, I feel happy too. Because why? Because when I got sick, then my parents would come to visit me. My parents would fly to see how sick I was. So that's the time when I have a little bit free time with my parents. Otherwise, I feel quite happy. She was always brought up in a rosy garden. Some teenagers have gone through very tough times, I have seen some of my schoolmates at university. They didn't have money to pay the tuition. They have to do a lot of extra work. They have to do part-time work. They're worrying about how to pay the tuition fee and, lots of problems. But some were living in a rosy garden all the time that they didn't know what suffering is all about. So you really have to have experiences in life to understand some meaning of Buddhism. But assuming that you are old enough to know better, that was what we say. What is Sunyata? It gives the meaning of impermanence. Home means everything is impermanent. There's nothing that is permanent. Did you find in anything in this world that is permanent? How permanent are you, your body? How long would you live? You live up to 100 years? People live up to 70 years in the ancient days, and now they live up, because of medical advancement, live up to 100 years, but you still have to die. So impermanence is one aspect of Sunyata. Changeability is one aspect of Sunyata. Everything is up to change. You think your husband will love you all the time? It may change. Your wife may change. 50% of all marriages end up in divorce. And changes happen all the time. When you have your first dating, everything was so rosy, and then after a certain time you get married, and then you have children, and after the children, okay, one child was autistic, the other child was okay, and then you have to go through how to look after this autistic child. And then there's another family, they have problems and problems and problems, and it comes up right after your marriage. So we always say that, which some people blame me for saying it, marriage is the graveyard of love. Don't you believe in that? Of course you won't. But let's get the facts done. I mean, we don't say that love is no good. Love is only good if it is reciprocated. You love your husband and your husband loves you. If it's only one-sided, you hate it. If love is only one-sided, you hate it, you don't like it. And we can turn love into compassion, Compassion is unconditional. If you can render your love unconditionally, that is compassion and not love anymore. So we have a lot to talk about. Sunyata is impermanent, it's changeability. And why is it changeable? Everything is subject to conditionality, based on conditions. We live based on conditions. Our body lives based on conditions. If the conditions are not ripe, if the conditions fall apart, we don't live anymore. So we exist on conditionality. And because of impermanence, because of changeability, all that brings us suffering. Because things change. You want to do good business, then you may have to file a bankruptcy. What are the reasons for it? Many, many reasons of that. And one member of the family died because of certain reasons, maybe because of sickness, because of depression, because of hatred, and all that, and you were so grief-stricken. And you suffer. But you don't know that is Sunyata. That's all changeable. And all this conditionality is based on certain conditions that you have. You have cultivated these conditions yourself. And you brought all this karma in this world, and as a consequence, you suffer from the karma that you brought into this world. So Sunyata is something that is so complicated, so lengthy that we have to talk about. It requires so much of your experiences in life to actually know the meaning of it. And that's the reason why people who believe in Buddhism are those who are at least middle-aged. It's good for youngsters to learn about Buddhism. If youngsters start to know about Buddhism, it would be very valuable to their life in the future. Because then they know how to be happy, how to be good, how to be more intelligent, how to be compassionate, how to help others. But this is not the case right now. So we need actual experiences to find out suffering. More and more I find out suffering. When I first started this temple 39 years ago, I started with a lot of people who help out. And 90% of them died already. Only about 10%. Probably I'm the only one right now. All those pioneers who started this temple, I can remember 6 of them, they're all dead. I'm the 7th. And everything changes all the time. And we've gone through a lot of hardships in life. If I look back, it's suffering. But faced with this suffering, what did we do? We cried, we feel emotional, We learn from these sufferings. We know that we have to build up wisdom. And we also raise questions as to how do I get away from this suffering? How come humans have life and death? Can we transcend life and death? Can we change suffering into something blissful? How do we live happily? How do we learn to be happy? What's the definition of happiness? Is happiness defined by money, reputation, big house? As I said, as the example, we talked about this a few days ago. I talked about it with some of my friends right at the restaurant, right there at the back. When they were young, they were making money. Whenever they travel, really, they go economy. And as they grow older, they make more money and they become a millionaire. Then they say, I want to go business class. And then after a while, they want to be first class. And after a while, first class is no good anymore. Because some of my friends have a private airplane. I want to have a private airplane. You would never feel happy in your insatiable desire because there's always people who are richer than you. There are always people who are poorer than you. Where do you put yourself? If you put yourself in the evaluation of richness, of material, of a big house, a big boat, or a big estate that you inherit from someone, you're not happy. You're not happy. So what is happiness? What's the definition of happiness? If being rich is all the happiness, you should have read some of these interview reports of these rich people. I read a report. They interview a rich person in Hong Kong, and it's Mr. Lee. And Mr. Lee, you have billions of dollars. What's the time when you are very happy? Are you happy now with all the billions and billions of dollars that you have now? Yeah, I remember the time when I feel happy is when I first started my business and I was so young and I was licking my ice cream cone walking in the park. That was my happiest moment. I had so much that I have to worry about. I don't feel happy right now. So you ask some of those people, is happiness defined in terms of money? How about the richest person in the finance? What is his name? Huh? Buffett, yeah. And Buffett said in this interview that you cannot measure happiness by money. Actually, sometimes you create a lot of bad karma from the money. Because if you have a lot of money and you are young and you're a man, a lot of women will be coming to you. They will be attracted to you. And then you're in trouble. You cannot stand the attraction. And then you will do all kinds of things that make you commit all this karmic energy. And if all your friends are bad, they were in a competition game for more money and reputation and sex and whatnot, then you're buried in the belief of materiality. You continue to make all these karmic offenses, karmic energy that would bind you in life and death. You know what is meditation? What is the objective of meditation? Why do we meditate? To meditate is, I want to get health. I want to get peace. I want to get this, get that. Because people told me meditation will make me beautiful. I don't have to go for facial, because if I meditate, I'll relax my muscles and I look beautiful. Is that the objective of meditation? Meditation is not to get. Meditation is to let go. Leave this. Don't want this. Abandon this. No attachment, no addiction, no killing, no lying, no cursing. Meditation is to let go, not to get. But when people come to the meditation classes, what do I get from here? What kind of benefits are there in meditation? Do I get to be more intelligent? If I get to be more intelligent, I can make more money, right? Will I be more healthy? If I get more healthy in my meditation, then I won't be sick. Will I stay younger if I meditate? People told me that if you are getting older and older, if you meditate, you will look younger and younger. So everything to think about in meditation is to get. People believe in Buddhism. Why? Because they want to get blessings from the Buddha. If you believe in Buddhism because you want to acquire, that's not right. That increases your greediness for acquisition. Buddhism is to let go. Buddhism is to abandon. People say, I'm depressed, what should I do? And some people say, oh, just let go, just let go. I cannot let go because I'm depressed. Just a word of let go and I can let go. I'm depressed. How can you just let go, let go? How? If you are suffering from depression, the first thing is to embrace it. Befriend with your depression. Accept it. Get familiar with it. Pat his shoulder and say, friend, you're with me and I'm okay. Don't hate your friend. Don't hate your depression. Accept it, embrace it, live with it, get used to it. And finally, you won't hang on to it. But if you repulsed it, you hate it, you cried on it, you're adding emotion onto emotion. It's just like you're adding violence to violence. You can't add violence to violence. You have to absorb it, tolerate it, live with it. Don't hate it. Live with it. Befriend with it. And if you befriend with it, you get so familiar with it. You don't hate it anymore. That also helps you to forsake your hatred, to quiet down your emotion, to quiet down your fear of death. All those who are depressed, they are afraid of death. What happens if I go crazy? I go mental asylum. What happens? They always have fear. When you embrace your fear, you're not fearful of it anymore because you know your fear. What is life? If you're only going through breakfast, lunch, dinner, and friends, and then you die 100 years later, is that the only meaning of life? Is that the only meaning of existence? We have a body. There was a Swiss writer who said, our body is a traveling bag of our existence. We're a traveler. We don't want to travel in this life and death anymore, the Buddha said. Don't travel in reincarnation, life and death anymore. Go beyond it. And he was in search of such a method to go beyond life and death. But how many people listened? They still stick on to the addiction of money and wealth and sex and beauty. What can we do? Well, there's a lot to prowl. There's a lot to walk. There's a lot to know. It's interesting. Don't you find life is interesting? Life it's like a script that you have to write it out. You can always change your script. Don't think that I have a bad script when I start off. Now, I got stuck. You can always change your script. You are your own script writer. Write your script in such a way that you gear yourself towards wisdom, enlightenment, not a script towards attachment to certain things. You are the director also. You're the audience. You do everything. Life is in the palm of your hand. To see the world in a grain of sand, and heaven in a wildflower, eternity in the palm of your hand, and infinity for an hour. That's William Blake. Everything is in your hand. Are you willing to change it? Changeability. Yeah, you have a question, yes?
Yes. There are many schools of philosophy. So would you say that logic is one of the schools? And if it is, therefore the Buddhist philosophy is just one of the ways of explaining emptiness. Emptiness is one of the ways of explanation.
The logic is the method of thinking. The method of thinking. And in Buddhism, in ancient Buddhism, they already have logic. And in Heitu, yes, in the Sanskrit language is Heitu, that is the study of the system of things, long time ago. And then later in modern philosophy, logic developed from philosophy. To start with is philosophy, and then they have logic. And even in logic, they split it into symbolic logic and many, many other logics. Logic is human thinking. But logic is also from the mano and the manas. In other words, from the mind that is involved with emotions and rationality and emotion, all mixture. But it's a system and a method of thinking. And Buddhism, of course, has its own thinking. But Buddhism has a set of logic. I just explained the probabilities about mind and how this originated from. That is more or less to deal with logic. The logic of probability. For example, do you remember the one we have? The original thought, does it flows from the mind that starts with original thought, or from the mind that not starting with the original thought? So they have, if A and B is equal to C, it's that kind of thing. There's logic in Buddhism. Logic in Buddhism is one school of thought, a very profound school of thought. It's a school of thought by itself, very profound school of thought. Many years earlier than logic, even the development of logic. Yeah. Yeah.
My second question is, after you let go of everything, and then there's still the heavens, different layers of heavens.
You have three layers of existence. Yeah. Say that again. What's your question?
My question was, in the lecture today, you mentioned about the let go of different layers of experience or existence.
Yeah, there are certain levels of dhyana, or certain levels of meditative state. Say, assuming that we are a body with many clothes of self, ego on it. Clothes number 1, ego. Number 2, number 3, lots of clothes in here. We shut off these clothes, take off these clothes and become lighter. So we take off the clothes of desire, take off the clothes of greediness, and then we elevate our thinking. We purify our thinking from one level to another. As you purify the thinking, you become more blissful.